Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our transfer news show, our afternoon show, which we always do, and lots of news to get into. Of course, I think this the afternoon show always has a lot of transfer news, a lot of transfer gossip, doesn't it? Because of the whole day that goes by. So it's a show where we'll be talking about a lot of transfer news, and there's a lot of big news that has come through over the last little while. So hang on to your seatbelts. We'll be talking about a lot of that. So share in your comments as well, things that you may want to discuss, things that you feel are exciting for you as a fan. Let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to discuss that as well. And also remember to smash like on this video if you do enjoy it, and also subscribe to our channel if you're watching this for the first time. We're getting very, very close to 450 subscribers, so please do subscribe to our channel. Really, really appreciate that, and we appreciate your support. But for now, let's get right into it. Let's get right into the show. And obviously, the big one, right at the top of the heading that we have put in, is Xavi Simons is closing in on returning to RB Leipzig on loan. Now, this is coming from Fabrizio Romano. It's a bit of an interesting news because he's been linked with Manchester United. He's been linked with Bayern Munich. The United links kind of went a bit cold over the last couple of days, but Bayern Munich apparently was still interested in him. But now it seems like he's going on his way to RB Leipzig. He spent last season on loan over there, and what it has been reported is that PSG actually do want to loan him out. They don't want to sell him, and so therefore, because Leipzig are okay with loaning him, and maybe Bayern and Manchester United are not that keen on a loan deal. So what has happened is that Leipzig are like, yeah, we'll loan him, and so PSG have said, fine, you can have him on loan. So that's what it's looking like. And I remember what I said. I think a couple of days when we did this show, I said whoever said that Manchester United are willing to pay 90 million euros for him was obviously talking, they outed themselves as being fake, and they outed the news as being fake. And exactly that is what has happened. Somebody came up with that, and now we're hearing that he's going to RB Leipzig. So I'm not surprised with the fact that, that turned out to be fake. I think even Bayern Munich, and we'll talk about why Bayern Munich might have pulled out of the race, because there is news on the Bayern Munich front as well. But to me, I think what has really happened is that PSG really wanted 90 to 100 million euros for Xavi Simons. I think that was what they were expecting to get. And obviously, Manchester United have said no. I think Bayern Munich have said no as well. And so what they've realized is that if we do sell him, we want this kind of money for him, but nobody's going to pay that money. So we are better off just doing a loan deal and bringing him back next season. So that I think is the reason why PSG are kind of open to doing negotiations with Leipzig. Leipzig, of course, don't mind getting Xavi Simons back on loan. Simons obviously liked playing for Leipzig last season, so I think he's thinking, yeah, you know what, I might as well go there and get another season, of regular game time. They are going to be in the Champions League next season, so he'll get that top level football. And so I think overall this is a move that would benefit all parties. It's still not done yet. There's still things to be done, so it's not officially confirmed by anybody. But this is coming from Romano that at the moment, Leipzig are the front runners to get Xavi Simons back back on loan at the club. So looks like that saga might be wrapping up. And you know what? I think at this moment in time, Leipzig is the right move for Simons. I don't think he's ready to be a starter for Manchester United or a starter for Bayern Munich. I don't think he's at that. He would be a competing starter with Ahmad at Manchester United. That is what I feel. I don't see a lot of difference in the levels between the two at this moment in time. Now, Simon could go on and become the better player, or Ahmad might go on and become the better player. But at the moment, they're quite level. And so, as I said, the transfer fee that PSG would demand, which would possibly be 70, 80 million euros at least. Even if they're asking for 90, you could not negotiate from 90 to 50. You could get it down to maybe 80. You don't pay 80 million euros for a player that is going to compete. You pay 80 million euros for a player who's going to be an out-and-out first-choice player. And I don't think Simon is ready for that. I don't think he's ready for that at United. I don't think he's ready for that at Bayern. So for him going to Leipzig, I think it's the right move for his career as well, just to be able to get that regular game time. And I think maybe PSG are cognizant of that, and that's why the loan thing has happened. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's see what happens there. And of course, it is one that we will obviously monitor. And once we get more news, we will provide that for sure. But talking of Bayern Munich and wingers, so another big news that has come is that Bayern Munich have put in a bid in excess of 50 million euros for Desiree Doue. Now, Desiree Doue was someone who was linked. I think a week ago there was talk about Bayern being interested. PSG are also interested in him. Bayern, I think, made an offer about 40 million euros. That was rejected. But company really wants the player. He's really, really, enamored by him. He wants him at the club. He's very young, only 18 years old, I think. but he's turned a few heads at Rennes. And so, Bayern have gone back and then said, fine, we'll make another bid. And they made a bid in excess of 50 million euros plus bonuses. And the player is interested in Bayern, but PSG are also interested. So there could be a bid from PSG as well. So maybe Simon going will then accelerate that move now, because they'll probably want another wing in the squad. And probably they look at Doue, because Doue, I think, is someone who, you can bring him in and you can still develop him into becoming a first choice. I think Simons wants to be a starter right now, whereas I think Doue will probably be okay with being a bench player, getting his minutes, and slowly integrating into the first 11 of the squad. So I think that's why PSG do have an interest in signing Doue, and I think they will make a bid as well. But for now, Bayern have put in a bid. They want to get this done. They know that PSG are interested, but they want to pull this deal off as soon as possible. I think this is the profile of the new Bayern Munich. I think it is, because they do want players who they can mold, and they want young players now. I think Bayern for a long time have had players that have been together for a while. Some of them probably have not developed in the way that they want. Like Coman, for example, is someone who's kind of on the who hasn't had a couple of good seasons. Same with Sané. I think Sané always flatters to deceive a little bit, and I think they're probably looking to their next crop. They're looking at the likes of Matistel, probably there's Doue as well. Probably if maybe there's a couple of other young players as well whose names slip me right now. But I think they're looking to build a more younger core of players now that they can develop and move forward. And so Doue, I think, fits that bill. So that's why they want to sign him now. Will that deal happen? I think a lot of it will depend on what Doue's ambitions are, because I think whether he goes to Bayern or whether he goes to PSG, he's not going to be an automatic starter, right? He's going to be someone who's going to have to be integrated into the team. He's going to get some game time, and he's probably going to, play, minutes here and there. He's hopefully, in a year or two, he'll be a starter for Bayern, but I don't think that will happen right away. So, do you rather go to Bayern or do you rather go to PSG to be that player? I don't think he'll be a starter either way. I think it would make sense to go to Bayern because it's a different league. It's a little bit more competitive. Bundesliga, with Leverkusen, hopefully they will maintain their level next season. It could very well get very competitive. So from that perspective, you want to go to that sort of league, because if you go to PSG, 99% you're likely to win the league. So so then the competition and the development won't be there. So from his point of view, I think Bayern would be better. But maybe he wants to stay in France and maybe he wants to play there. But I think Bayern would be better for him. As a decision, Bayern would be better. But it depends on what he wants to do, and I think he will decide that based on, of course, the financial package, based on the game time, all of that. I think he might be leaning towards Bayern, but he might very well choose PSG. But I think he will choose Bayern. I think my prediction is that he will choose Bayern, but I could be wrong. But that's what I think would happen. So. But that is one that is accelerated really quickly. I think we heard about Doue about a week ago, and now suddenly there's been a bid. And I think Rennes will accept it. I think they will accept that bid, but then I think they're waiting for PSG to kind of come back, either with a bigger offer or counter offer, whatever the case may be. I think that is something that will need to be monitored as well. And also on that note, Manchester City have also set the price tag. It's the third news. Of course, Manchester City have set the price tag for Julian Alvarez. So there's a lot of talk of Julian Alvarez leaving Manchester City. He wants to go. He wants to, as I said yesterday as well, we talked about this. He wants to become a star somewhere else. He wants to play more regular football. And what they have now said is that they're willing to sell him for 70 million euros plus 20 million euros in bonuses. This is very specific as a price amount, because normally people say, we want like around 80 million euros or around 90 million euros. That's what normally is said. But in this case, it's a very specific figure that has been given, which is 70 million plus 20 million, which means either somebody has planted the story and been very specific, or this is somebody just doing wild guesswork. My theory is that it's a planted story. I think somebody from Manchester City has planted that story in the media to say 70 million plus 20, because it's very specific. When you make specific, transfer fees without any, club being linked, right? Clubs have been linked to Alvarez, but there's no club that is officially, said that we want him, or there's no official, notification of a club approach at this moment in time. When you put that kind of specific figure out, what you're actually doing is that it has to be a planted story, because what the club is basically doing is they're pricing him out of the market. Right? They're basically saying to Atletico, to any other club that is interested, saying, this is our price tag for Alvarez. You want him, you have to pay this much to get him. This is what we demand. This is an actual transfer fee. This is not a negotiated, term fee where they say, we want around 80 million or we want around 90. This is, we want 70 plus 20. It's very specific. And when you get specific figures, it usually means that it has been planted by a club source in the media to basically tell everybody else that this is the price tag. It is like talking to a club without actually talking to a club, where you're talking through an intermediary kind of thing. So think of it as, I'm saying it to a second. I don't want to talk to you directly, so I'm telling a third person, and that third person is telling you. It's kind of like that, like a telephone line kind of thing. And so basically, they're actually talking through the media to a club that is interested to say 70 plus 20. And in this case, because there's been no club approach, right, official club approach, we haven't heard of that. This is actually the way that they're talking. But what they've actually done is that I think they priced him out of the market. If you ask me, I think they priced him out of the market, because what they have done is they've said Julian Alvarez 70 plus 20. That is what we want. Would any club like Atletico Madrid, I don't think, will pay that much for Alvarez. I don't think they have the money anyway. I think even if they did, that's not the kind of deal they usually do. They did it for Joao Felix, right? Because Felix they thought would have resale value because he was younger than what Alvarez is now. He had resale value. With Alvarez, of course, he will have resale value anyway. But I think having been burned by that Felix still, I think they wouldn't want to do something like that again. With Alvarez or with any other player for that matter. So 90 million euros is a massive outlay. I know we've gotten a bit desensitized these days, to transfer fees or everything. 100 million euros is okay or whatever, but 90 million is quite a lot. So for me, I think they priced him out. They basically said, yes, we'll sell him, but we're putting a very high price tag. And if somebody is stupid enough to pay it, sure, why not? We'll take him. But I think they priced him out, and I don't think Atletico will do that deal. And then you're wondering who else is going to want him, right? Maybe Inter might want him. In England, I don't think he will go anywhere, because any club to England is a step down for Manchester City. So in fact, most clubs in world football are a step down for Manchester City. But at least if you go abroad, right, you at least get something, right? Whereas in England, I think there's just no point. So if you look at English clubs who's left, maybe Bayern Munich are not going to buy him. PSG don't want him. Real Madrid don't want him. Barcelona don't have the money to pay for him anyway, even if they wanted him. And then Inter don't really want him. I don't think Juventus can afford him, or Milan for that matter would not. I don't think Milan want him anyway. Not there, not and they wouldn't even want to pay that price. So you're kind of left with very few options. So at that price rate that they've talked about, I don't think it's going to happen, unless they're open to loan. But I don't think they want to loan him. So I would interpret that price tag being put out there, being planted out there, as a way of them saying this player is pretty much pricing him out, saying yeah, we'll sell him for this big amount. And they basically said, you know what, we're pricing him out of the market. So I don't see that happening. Now it could change, of course. Maybe Alvarez puts a hissy fit and say, you know what, no, this is too high. I shouldn't be valued at that much. I'm only valued at 40 or 50 million euros. Accept that fee for me. You only pay 21 million euros for me, so you should be very happy if you get 50 million euros for me, which is more than double the price. So take that offer. He could do that, but I don't think he will. He doesn't strike me as the kind of player who would do that. So I think that we won't see him leave this summer, which is sad if you're a Manchester City, if you're a Manchester United fan and you don't want to see Manchester City win the league. It is sad that Alvarez is staying, but I guess it is good for Manchester City if he does stay. So I don't see that deal happening anymore. I don't see it. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised from this point on if Julian Alvarez leaves Manchester City, because I just don't see how that deal can be done unless Manchester City go and reduce their valuation by about 20, 25 million euros. Maybe then the deal might happen, but even then it's unlikely. So I don't think they will do it. They've been very steadfast in their valuations of players, so I don't see that deal happening at this point. But one to keep an eye on. But at least they've set a fee. And the question now is somebody brave enough or stupid enough to go and pay it and sign him? I think that is a question to be asked. PSG are also apparently interested in Nico Williams. So we did talk about this Doue, but they're also interested in signing Nico Williams. Now Barcelona are in the race and are the front runners in the race for Nico Williams. They've actually presented what we have been told, through online internet. I don't have sources, but what we have been told is that Barcelona pretty much made a very compelling financial package to Nico Williams. They're confident that he will accept it and that he will move to that he will accept the personal terms. They've also said, put it out to intermediaries, that yes, we can pay Athletic Bilbao's release clause for Nico Williams. That was something that was a stumbling block, but they've said yes, we'll do that. So at the moment, Barcelona look likelier to sign him, but apparently PSG have now entered the race because they also want to bring him in. I'm a little bit. I'm actually not sure if if PSG would be interested, and the reason for that I say is if the Desiree Doué move fails to go through, then yes, maybe they look at Nico Williams. So Nico Williams is not going to be a Desiree Doué. He's not going to be someone who's going to sit on the bench. He will want to be a starter for PSG. So how do you fit him in when you've already got Dembele and you've got Barcola and you've got all these other players? How do you fit him in? Yes, you need a squad, but you always have your starting 11 as such. So I feel again the source is not as reliable. Or not, I haven't heard much about this source. Somebody else could comment and let me know if it is reliable. But I feel it's a planted story again. I feel it's an agent basically trying to force Barcelona to speed up the deal to sign Nico Williams, perhaps. That I think is what is happening by saying PSG have entered the race, and also so vague. PSG have entered the race. That's how it's said online, and I just feel like that's like an announcement. And what does that mean? What does that mean? It means nothing. So I think that is just a planted story, and I think again that I don't think PSG. I can understand PSG being interested, but I don't think they're going to make a bid, and I don't think Nico Williams is going to go there. I just think this is being used by an agent to force Barcelona to speed up the deal because he wants to move, right? He wants to leave Athletic Bilbao. He wants to play for Barcelona. So the agent is basically trying to force Barcelona that be quick, somebody's hijacking. They do that all the time. So I think that's what it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear more about this PSG interest, and that in a couple of days' time we'll be hearing, or 2, 3, or 4 days' time we'll be hearing Barcelona are nearing completion or have done the deal. I think sometimes you get that, and I think this is one of those stories. But it would be intriguing if PSG actually are interested. It would be intriguing to see what happens, whether the price tag goes up, whether Nico Williams' contract demands go up. The price tag will be what it is because I think there is a release clause. So there's no there is no mention of price tags in this case. It's a release clause. The only thing about it could make a difference is that if Barcelona are agreeing on payment plans, then maybe PSG come in and say, well, we'll give you better payment terms, so we'll pay you upfront. Then maybe that becomes intriguing. But otherwise, I think the price tag will be the same. What will be interesting is whether the contract terms will become better for Nico Williams because he's negotiating with two clubs. If PSG's interest is actually concrete, but I don't think that is. I don't think that is the case. But nonetheless, one to keep an eye on. And of course, on that note again, Osimhen, he is still interested in living in Napoli. And we said yesterday that he was probably going to have talks with Antonio Conte to talk about staying at Napoli. He because there's no PSG move happening. That's not happening anymore. But apparently he still wants to leave Napoli. And he is now going to look at Saudi Arabia as an option to leave. I mean, at this point, Saudi Arabia are the only realistic option left because his price tag is way too high for any club to afford in Europe. I don't think Saudi Arabia can afford it either. I mean, if you ask me, I don't think Saudi Arabia can afford it either because I just don't see what club would, again, if there is a club that is already haggling over the fee for Edison, what makes Osimhen or anyone think that they're going to stamp up 100 million euros to sign him, from Napoli? He's not as big of a world star at the moment. He is a very good player. He's not world class, but he's a very good player. But he's not that world star. He's not like that, renowned player like Ronaldo or Neymar that had the name recognition. Now, some could argue he's better than them as a player. I'm not, at this moment in time, people could say, he's better than Ronaldo, he's better than Neymar right now. Completely true, could be true, and or not. I should not say completely true, but completely valid point that you may have. But the fact of the matter is that he's not as big a name as those guys. And so Saudi Arabia will not want to stump up big money to bring him. For 100 million euros is a big amount of money for a place that is now trying to rein in the spending. It is trying not to spend so much. I don't think they will make that. Like I said, last season was the time to move. Last season, some Saudi Arabia club would have paid 100 million euros to sign him because he had that name recognition. He had that heat behind him. He had that sort of hype behind him. This season has gone cold. So I just don't see any club spending 100 million euros. And as I've said, Napoli will be stupid to let him go for anything less than 100 million euros. So it's a standoff. I think he will stay at Napoli at the end. Come the start of the season. I think he will stay at Napoli because I just don't see where he could go unless unless there's something that he can do where he pays part of the transfer fee or things like that. Unless they do something like that, I just don't see how that move is going to happen. But he wants to be Napoli. I'm also not sure why he wants to be Napoli so eagerly. Yes, they don't have European football next season, but it's like they're still a big club in Europe. A very storied club, and you're playing in Europe. You're going to be playing in front of fans who love you. Is it money? Probably it is money, but still, I'm surprised he wants to leave. I'm actually surprised he wants to leave. But yeah, I get money might be a consideration, but yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Osimhen, but that's a saga that could run. And speaking of sagas, what could become a saga? Not what could become a saga. It's not even close to that yet, but it could become something. Is the Noussair Mazraoui deal? Now we keep hearing things, and it's a merry-go-round. It's a merry-go-round. So as I said yesterday, apparently Manchester United are very interested in signing Mazraoui, and they're willing to let Aaron Wan-Bissaka go to West Ham United for £10 million to be able to facilitate that deal. Now, what we're hearing today is that West Ham United are interested in Mazraoui, which was of course reported that they are interested in Mazraoui, and they are willing to do a deal around 20 to 25 million euros. That is what is the price. And do you know what? 20 to 25 million euros sounds absolutely reasonable for Mazraoui. No problem with that. And then that brings me to the point of what that the point of that story of £10 million was, because there's no way that there is no way that West Ham United would, Bayern would continue selling him for 10, 15 million euros, which is what £10 million is around 12 million euros, 13. So, say 15 million euros. There's no way they would sell. So why would United lower their price tag for Bayern Wan-Bissaka when the replacement was so expensive? So I think what has happened, now again, it could be West Ham using the Mazraoui name to kind of force Manchester United to do a cheaper deal. In which case, if they get that done, well, fair play to West Ham United. They'll have done that. I think what is happening here is West Ham have realized that you have a choice of Wan-Bissaka for £20 million, right, or £18 million or £15 million, and you have a choice of Mazraoui for about 20-25 million euros. £18 million, which I think is probably what West Ham, which is what the lowest I think Manchester United want to go, is about 22 million euros. And I think what West Ham had realized is for that same price we can get Mazraoui. So is Mazraoui a better option than Wan-Bissaka at this point in time? I think economically it might make sense because I think Mazraoui's wages will probably be lower than Wan-Bissaka's. So that would be a consideration. I think Mazraoui probably has a few more strings to his bow than Wan-Bissaka. He's, I think, younger than Wan-Bissaka as well. So they probably see that as well. Let's go for Mazraoui because if it's the same price, why don't we try for Mazraoui instead of Wan-Bissaka? And I think that's what has happened. And so therefore, where that leaves Wan-Bissaka, I'm not sure because West Ham will want to do a deal, but now that looks like not happening. And West Ham have done this now twice. I mean, the last season they were supposed to sign Maguire, then they pulled out at the last minute, said we don't want to sign Maguire anymore. Now they're doing that with Wan-Bissaka. I mean, Manchester United should just stop dealing with West Ham, and they should be telling West Ham, if you want our players, sign them, or just don't talk to us because you keep negotiating and haggling, and then ultimately you move on to some other player. So they need to sort that out because this has been happening way too often and way too much, I feel. I think Wan-Bissaka will probably, if the West Ham deal falls through, which it looks likely that it might, because here's the thing as well. If you're negotiating for two, if you're looking at Mazraoui as your first choice, United can't sign Mazraoui unless they sell Wan-Bissaka. That is a given, right? They're not able to afford players right now. They have to sell Wan-Bissaka in order to be able to sign Mazraoui. And the only club that is going to sign Wan-Bissaka at this moment in time is West Ham United, who also want Mazraoui and for whom probably Mazraoui is a bigger option. So where that leaves Wan-Bissaka, I feel is that he's going to stay at Manchester United. I don't see him leaving, which I'm okay with, by the way. I think as a backup right back, he's fine. Doue anyway plays a lot of games. The issue is, of course, the fact that the left backs keep getting injured. So therefore, Doue has to cover at left back, and then Wan-Bissaka gets starts. But I think it's okay to keep Wan-Bissaka as a number 2 right back. Unfortunately, neither Shaw nor Malacia will leave this season. Otherwise, if they could get rid of one of them, they could still be able to sign another right back and then play Doue as a left back, which I would again be fine with. But unfortunately, I think because Shaw and Malacia, nobody wants them, I think they'll be stuck with them. So it will be probably Wan-Bissaka, Doue, Shaw, and Malacia as your 4. And then maybe Amas or Sam Murray will be like the sort of backup on that left back because you obviously can't rely on either Shaw or Malacia to stay fit for a whole season. So therefore, I think that is the way it will work out. I just don't see now, unless some other club comes in and tries to do a deal. I just don't see if Wan-Bissaka is going to leave Manchester United this season. So that's why I think that leaves him. And if he really wanted to be Manchester United, he'll be gutted. But I think more gutted will probably be United, that the fact that they tried to negotiate a deal for Wan-Bissaka and then they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it because because West Ham pulled out and they realized they could get a better deal elsewhere, which is what they seem to always do. So that is sad for Wan-Bissaka. I do feel bad for him, but it is what it is. I think it's just what it is. And unfortunately, United paid too high a fee for him, and so they have to recoup that fee, that investment. But even otherwise, I don't think you sell Wan-Bissaka for £10 million. Not when even Trent Alexander-Arnold in the last year of his contract, they're talking about at least I think 20-25 million pounds for him. So why would Wan-Bissaka not be worth that much? Because he's had a good season. I think between him and Trent gets a lot of attention because he gets a lot of assists. He's a generational talent and all that. But defensively, I think Van Bissaka has streets ahead of him. He's miles better than him. And even his attacking output might not be great, but he still gets a lot of work done. So I think he's definitely, with 2 or 3 years left on his contract. I think he has about 2 years left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken, because I think he came in 2019, so five. So maybe he's got 1 year left on his contract actually as well. So maybe that's an issue. But I think he's got 1 or 2 years left on his contract, definitely. So with that in mind, I think 15 to 20 million pounds is very, very reasonable, I think, as a price tag. But it is what it is. Of course, the other one is that Juventus want to buy Jean-Clair Todibo from Nice. Now, Todibo, of course, was linked heavily with Manchester United, but that deal fell through because UEFA said that can happen. We spoke about Juventus's interest in Todibo before. They've already agreed personal terms with him. And what is now being reported is that the deal could be done with a loan and then an obligation to buy for 35 million euros. I think Juventus do want a centre back, and I think Todibo really fits the bill for that. So I think it would be a good deal if they can pull it off with a loan for and then a 35 million euro obligation. I think that is totally fine. I think that's a wonderful deal that Juventus would have managed to snag for themselves. 30 million pounds for a defender. I mean, that's why United were interested in one. There was 30 million pounds for a defender. How good would that have been? Instead of trying to negotiate, a fee for, and I think that's why the 35 million euros is what they offered for the league as well, because I think they thought Todibo is worth 35. That's how much we can afford. Let's put 35 for the league. But of course, Bayern want more. But I mean, 35 million euros would have been a great deal for Manchester United to do. Unfortunately, they couldn't because of UEFA. But I think Juventus will get a great deal once they get that over the line. So let's hope, waiting for that to go through. Another one, of course, is that as we talked about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Trent Alexander-Arnold is now a priority for Liverpool to get a new contract. So he has been linked heavily with Real Madrid. Real Madrid want to sign him, and they want to sign him. They want to sign him. Either they'll sign him this season, or they will look at him on a free transfer next season. So there is a lot of interest there. But at the moment, Liverpool are trying to get Trent Alexander-Arnold to sign a new contract. I think from Trent's point of view, he's got to decide if he signs a contract, he's staying in Liverpool for a while. And there's very little chance of him ever leaving Liverpool, like on his own terms after that. Like if he leaves Liverpool because he's not good enough, they'll sell him and he'll probably go to another mid-table club. But if he wants to go to a big club like Real Madrid, this is his only opportunity. Over the next 12 months is his opportunity because he's going to be, because Real Madrid wouldn't be interested in him if he wasn't so cheap, right? If he isn't so cheaply available, they probably wouldn't look at him. But because he's a reasonably priced deal, he's someone that they can sign for a small amount. They're looking at him, or free, small amount of free. They're interested in him. So Trent has to think long and hard. Does he want to stay at Liverpool, for the long haul and be their player, or does he want to try his luck at Real Madrid? And that is, I think, what will define whether he signs the contract or not. If I was Trent and I wanted to go to Real Madrid, I wouldn't sign the contract, because once he signs that Liverpool contract, the new Liverpool contract, he is never going to Real Madrid, because Real Madrid will move on to another player, because whatever Liverpool will demand for Trent, Real Madrid will not pay it, right? So at this moment in time, if he really wants to go to Real Madrid, then he's got to not sign that contract. No matter whether there's a release clause, whether there's some kind of gentleman's agreement, it doesn't matter. Real Madrid will not come for him. They will only come for him because of that, because his price tag will be low, because he has 1 year left on his contract, or because he will be available on a free transfer next season. Beyond that, they will not be interested. So if he wants to go to Real Madrid, he's got to sign. He's got to make sure that he doesn't sign that contract. If he's thinking money and he's thinking, no, I want to make the most amount of money, and if Liverpool offer me a better contract offer, they offer me a very good offer me the wages that I want, offer me the financial package that I'm happy with, then I will sign. Then fair play to him. Fair play to him for doing that. But if he wants to go to Madrid, then of course he can't do that. So it could very well be the financial side that determines things. But I mean, I'm always partial to English players going and playing abroad, because I think not enough English players do that. So I'm partial if Trent. I mean, I don't rate Trent that highly, but if he does want to go to Real Madrid and Real Madrid are interested in him, I think he should go there. I think he should definitely go there. But as I said, it's always about financials, and Premier League clubs can pay more than La Liga clubs, especially for English talent. They're more willing to pay big money for English talent, because they need those players for their homegrown quotas and things like that. And they are, whereas I think Spanish clubs are a bit more reserved about that kind of stuff. So I suspect that he might very well stay at Liverpool, and he might well do that. But I would like to see him go to Real Madrid. I really would like to see. And this is nothing against Liverpool, by the way. I have nothing against Liverpool in this situation. It's just that I would like to see him go to Real Madrid, because I want to see more English players going abroad. So, but we'll see what happens with that. I think it's still some ways away, that deal, from happening either way. But the fact that I think Liverpool are focused on getting Trent to re-sign, I think is a good news for the fans, and I hope the fans are appreciative of that. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with that. And some confusing news as well coming out about Eddie Nketiah. Now, what has been reported is that Marseille want Eddie Nketiah. They want to sign him as a striker. Marseille have been very active, and because they've got the Zerbi, they're looking at a lot of Premier League players, right? They've signed Greenwood, they've signed Højbjerg, and now they're looking at Nketiah. But what has also come out is that Arsenal want to sign Mark Guehi, and they're willing to give Eddie Nketiah as a sort of a exchange, like as a make weight in the deal to Crystal Palace. Now, I don't know if Crystal Palace are interested in Nketiah, and I would question their judgment for why they would be interested in Nketiah, because I don't see Nketiah as someone who's going to improve Crystal Palace. I think he's got his qualities, but I do believe that he needs to go a little bit lower than Crystal Palace. I feel maybe he needs to be playing maybe for one of those bottom, sort of maybe the bottom 7-8 clubs. I don't think Crystal Palace fall in that category at this moment in time because they had a very good second half of the season. They've got some good players anyway, so I think Nketiah probably needs to go a bit lower than that. Maybe an Everton or probably one of the promoted clubs or something like that. That's where he needs to go because I think that's where he needs to rebuild his career. I don't think Nketiah, he does a job and he has his bursts of brilliance from time to time, but I still think that there's a lot of kinks in his game that needs to be ironed out before you can say he's ready for even a mid-table club. I think he's not there yet. So I don't think Palace should have anything to do with him. But the fact is that that's been offered. But the bigger question for me is why are Arsenal interested in so one Nketiah and Arsenal negotiating with Marseille for Nketiah, and yet they're also trying to offload him to Crystal Palace, which doesn't make sense to me. So I think that Crystal Palace story is bogus. The other reason why I think it's bogus, that Crystal Palace story, is because why would Arsenal be interested in Mark Guehi? They're about to sign Calafiori, so they're going to get another centre back. Do they need a do they need another centre back? I mean, I know I get squad depth, and that's very important, and obviously it's important, but Mark Guehi coming in means that again he's going to want to be a starter. Like he's not going to want to be a bench player. So especially being an England international and all, Arsenal are not going to break up that Gabriel Saliba partnership anytime soon. And even if you got Calafiori, then Calafiori will want to be a starter as well. So you got 4 players who all want to be starters. It's going to be hard to manage. Now that's good to have, as the people say, competition is good, and yes, it's a good problem to have. But I think a great man once said, "A problem of plenty is still a problem," right? And so if you've got 4 players who all want to be number 1, who are number 2, they all want to be among the 2, then you've got this whole issue of having to juggle and balance, and then it kind of upsets the team balance a little bit. So I think that Guehi's story is a load of bollocks. I'd be very surprised if Arsenal went for Guehi. I also feel that Arsenal need other players aside from defenders. I think they're very well stocked in defense. I don't think Arsenal need any more defenders. I think what Arsenal need is a striker. They really need a striker. And there's been no news of that. And even though Nketiah doesn't really doesn't really make it here or there, they're trying to sell a striker that they have. So I'm a little bit perplexed by it. I am a little bit confused by this story, but maybe it's false, and I feel it's false. I feel the Arsenal Guehi links are false, but it is confusing. If it is true, it is very, very confusing to me. But I feel like it's been planted by someone. That's what I will say in fairness. But with Nketiah, that deal to Marseille, I think that'll be beneficial for both sides. If Arsenal can get a decent transfer fee for him, I think they'll be very happy with that because he just hasn't been the player that the Arsenal fans wanted him to be. He's got deficits to his game, and he needs to work on that. And I think Marseille might be the place for him. So let's keep an eye on that. Let's see what happens with that one. And just a few small bits and bobs. Brian Brobby wants to leave Ajax as well. He has said he will go. Premier League clubs are interested in him. AS Roma are also interested in him. Actually, Premier League, he wants to go to England. He wants to play in the Premier League. But Roma have said that they're interested because Roma, of course, have lost Lukaku. He was there on loan. He's now left. And he's probably going to go to Napoli. So Roma do need a striker. And so they are looking at Brian Brobby as a potential option for a striker. But he himself wants to go to England, I guess, because that's where the money is. It would be one to follow. I do think Brian Brobby would do well at Roma. I think Totti has done some good work there since he came in, so he might do well there. But it's one to keep an eye on. I think we don't know much yet at the moment, but we'll see what happens. But Roma do need a striker, so let's hope they get someone. On that note, Atletico Madrid are interested in Conor Gallagher and Mikel Merino. So now this is the second source that I'm hearing it, so there might be some truth to it. They are interested in Conor Gallagher and Mikel Merino as midfield options. They're looking at both of them. They'll probably sign one of them, but they are looking at both of them as midfield options. I think Mikel Merino probably fits them more than Conor Gallagher because he's Spanish. He's someone who's a little bit more technically sound. He's obviously got some qualities. So I think and he'll probably be cheaper. I think Mikel Merino will probably be cheaper to sign than Conor Gallagher. So I think it might be Merino. It might even be a case of Chelsea or someone planting Conor Gallagher as a link, because they want to show Conor Gallagher, because Chelsea want to sell Conor Gallagher. They want to sell him, and maybe somebody is using that as a way of saying, well, look, Atletico are interested in him, so he must be a very good player, because Atletico are interested in him, so we should sign him as well. We can sign him as well. So I think maybe it's that, because I still don't see how Gallagher would fit into at Atletico Madrid. He's someone who's still trying to find his best position, but yeah, at the moment that's what the report says, that both are on the short list. So maybe we'll have to wait and see what happens. Which one they go for? I'll go for Mikel Merino if I was. I don't know. I'm yawning, but yeah, it's afternoon, right? I'm not sure why Atletico are interested in Gallagher, but I can see why they're interested in Merino, and I think they might go for Merino in the end, but we will see. And also Youssef En-Nesyri has left Sevilla to go to Fenerbahce. Someone who's very highly rated actually at one point, but I don't know what happened. But he wanted to leave Sevilla. He's going to Fenerbahce. So good deal for him. Congratulations to him for getting that done. And yeah, we'll see how well he does. He had a good time at Sevilla, and now he's going on to Fenerbahce, and hopefully he will do well as well over there. And Sevilla, well, we'll see who they sign to replace him. That would be something to know. But anyway, I think it was a good show. A lot of ground covered. As always with these afternoon shows, there's so much ground to cover. There's so much news that keeps coming out, and it's hard to kind of dissect everything. But like I said, I think we're getting more and more. As I said, this week was when you're going to start. We're getting more and more news about Manchester City. We're getting more and more news about PSG. We're getting more news about Bayern. It is now happening. The big clubs are now starting to come into the fray and the picture a little. Even Juventus, the big clubs are starting to come more and more into the picture now, because the players that they want to sign are now starting to come back from the Euros holidays, from holidays after the Euros. So they will now be linked with these big clubs. So that's what you're going to see. And we're going to see a lot more rumors about that. And that's not to say that the likes of Manchester United and the others, the sort of second tier clubs, they won't be active. They still will be active. But I think now we'll start to see more and more rumors about the big teams and the big clubs and the big players that they may want to sign. So as I said, that's happening. And definitely smash a like on this video if you enjoyed it. And if you want to get more and more transfer news as they come, right, and my reaction to it, remember to subscribe to our channel, so that you get notified every time videos drop. Really appreciate your support. As I said, getting close to 450 subscribers. Hopefully we've crossed it by the end of this video, but if not, definitely want to cross it soon. So please do subscribe to our channel. And you enjoyed the show, share your comments as well. But anything that I discussed, share your comments. Let me know what you think about the transfer rumors. What do you think is true? What do you think is false? What are you happy with? What are you not happy with? Put that in the comments. Always love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Very, very great show. Take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.